What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And this episode, we got a very, very special guest. Yeah, slurring my words this evening. I apologize. I haven't even drank anything tonight. I'm drinking ginger beer, soft drink ginger beer. But my guest for this episode is the Lee Morrow. I'm excited to have Lee on, and we're going to get into so many different topics in this conversation. I'm really excited about it. But before we go any further, I need to take a quick second to tell you about our friends at Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. If you or someone you know is an athlete, you need to check out Sleefs. They've got all your athletic wear, gear, and stuff that you need to get going. So go and check out Sleefs.com. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that stay dry, they stay fresh, and they've got funky designs on the front of them to keep that special person in your life giggling away when the belt buckle comes undone. Yeah, so check out Sleefs.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Yeah. And wherever you are finding us, I appreciate you for tuning in to the Piers Austin channel on YouTube. If you can please like, share, subscribe, comment, share it to your friends, your cousins, your sisters, friends, boyfriends, uncles, mothers, brothers, everyone. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. I appreciate it. It helps with our analytics. It helps us reach more amazing people and bring more amazing conversations. But without further ado, talking about conversations, it's time to get in to my conversation with the Lee fucking Morrow, baby. Yeah! Boom.
Hey!
What's going on, man? Thank you for coming on the podcast, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here on a Friday night, a wild Friday night for the both of us, that's for sure.
That's it, mate. That's it. It's old man Friday nights as I sit here with my ginger beer, sipping it. So, keeping, behaving myself on a Friday, I think.
Of course, it's probably both past our bedtimes, but that's okay. We're here to smash out this podcast, that's for sure.
Absolutely, man. We're going to have a great time, bro. But look, as I said, thank you for coming on. I've been wanting to have you on for the longest time. I got to meet you in person, like a couple of months back in
Was it Yo Loco? Was it possibly?
Yeah, Yo Loco, man.
Yeah, those are very interesting shows, that's for sure.
Dude, they're such a, they're a fun show. But the kids are there, there's no.
Oh, the kids are absolute rat bags. Because of course the shows have been working as sorry, here's a secret, as working as Mr. Australia, and it's they're really fun, but the kids are just after the match, it's oh, can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have your belt? Can I have your flag? It's fuck off! This stuff costs me money.
They want the gimmick, brother.
Oh, they want everything. And it's my partner did the last show that we did for Yo Loco. She did face painting, and the poor thing, she did it for 3 hours, and she, from start to finish, face paint the whole entire time. I'm over somewhere talking to someone, and she's like, Just like, quick, come on. I'm like, oh, I'll be over in a sec. And really, she was calling me over because she was just drowning in kids and absolutely hating life. But they're fun to a certain degree.
Look, they're fun shows, but like it's just like I think they get wild, man, because I don't think the kids out that way get to see much, live pro wrestling, man. So when they do, it's just like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Like you got to think, like when you're a kid and you see like a wrestling ring and you're like watch WWE or like, when I was a kid, WCW, WWE, NWA, stuff like that. And ECW, when you first like get to see a wrestling ring, and you're a kid, you'd be
Of
like,
course, yeah.
Like
I know, like the last show I did, a lot of the kids came up to me and went, "Oh, good game," and it's just like it's obvious that either one, they're like big fans, or they're kids that have got no idea, and just parents bringing them along just in the hopes of having some sort of night where the kids can piss off for a little bit, so they can probably enjoy some Mexican food.
Exactly, man. But getting into your career, Lee, like where did you first start breaking in?
So it was, I could technically say it was 8 years ago, but actually it was 7 years ago. I got into wrestling a lot later than, say, a lot of the people now. Like a lot of them are getting into 18, 19. I didn't start or went to my first wrestling school till I was 22. I went to, I don't know what he calls it now. I went to Club Vulcan in Menai. Like I said, 8 years ago. I went twice. I was so terrified I didn't go back for a year. And then when I went back, luckily I didn't stop after that. So that's where I started. I've been to a couple of different schools throughout, but pretty much the thing that's forever constant is I've always been part of Club Vulcan and Menai.
How was it training with Vulcan, man? Like, you said the first couple of times, you sort of like, was it intimidation? Was it like, holy shit, can I do this? Was it like, what was it that sort of made you run?
I would say because I'm still not fully confident in myself, but I would say I wasn't confident in myself as a person, but as well, I think because you watch wrestling on TV and you build it up to this big thing. And so when I did turn up, I had like maybe 6, 7 people that had been doing a lot like for quite a while. And I was just terrified. I remember at one stage, we did like a cardio warm up. In my head, I was just like, I have to beat everyone. I have to beat everyone. And I was just going hell for leather. It was like, push ups, burpees, sit ups, squats. And once we were done, I was so exhausted. I had to sit down and I missed the whole warm up of the rolls and stuff because I pushed myself so hard. Because in my head, I was just like, I have to beat everyone. I have to show how bad I want it. Really, Vulcan couldn't give two fucking shits if I was good or not in terms of the cardio stuff. But
and so you blew yourself up in the first bit of training, but like once you sort of started going back there, how did you find training under Vulcan?
A little bit of history. Vulcan was a student of Dean Malenko School in the early 90s, I think. So a lot of the stuff that he taught and still teaches now is very, you could consider old school, but it's still used quite a lot now. It was good, but then the problem was that me and another person found out when we went to like our first seminar that we thought we were really fucking good after 6 months. And we went and we realized we were so insanely out of our element because of the little things that he sort of taught people at the beginning. Like at the beginning of training, when he would show you people how to do a lock up, it was feet parallel, straight forward, lock up. And we thought, oh, that's, that's how you do it. And then it was me and a friend went to a Hardcore Holly seminar about 6 months in. And we looked up, fucking parallel straight feet, thinking we're like the absolute best. And he went, that's not how you do it. And we just were like, fuck. I was so terrified, and he just went like right foot back, left foot forward, lock up, and it was just like everyone around me all knew what they were doing. We were just like, I turned to my friend and we go, fuck, we've got no idea what we're doing. And we had it like to the point where he was a bit more confident than I was, but through the seminar, Hug Holly came up to me, he just went, do you want to do this? And I went, yeah. And it was kind of like this realization that I needed to go somewhere else to get a little bit of extra training, because I still like love Vulcan, I love John, but it was kind of like, fuck, we are not as good as we think we are. So yeah, but I think that's I think that happens with a lot of people, where if you go from like company to company, there's a lot of people that go, oh fuck, I'm really good. And they get in the ring and they shit the bed and they go, fuck, I'm not really that good. But
do you think that could be like, some people just have like really bad like nerves and they are actually pretty good, but they get in that opportunity and then they just like fuck, shit the bed?
It depends. I think it depends on the person's attitude. Like there's a lot of people that I find that go, let's do this, without us sort of asking or like trying to give like a kind of like you both work together to try to work something out. And then unfortunately, sometimes it works, but then sometimes it's like the match shits the bed and you go, okay, cool. You did this wrong. And then they go, fuck. Which I think personally for me has like happened before, where I've wrestled like matches, I'm confident in myself, I'll still be respectful to like the other person I'm wrestling, and then after I'm like, whoa, fuck, like I need to work on a lot of stuff. But some people have that attitude, and then there's a lot of people that go, oh, fuck, I'm really fucking good. It's like I've had it before where I've said to people, it's like, oh man, you got to like, you were too slow at this spot, and they go, oh, go, and you just look at them and you go, you're not listening. But I think it depends on the person, how they take on information, or like it's probably like the same thing in like everyday life, where if you're with your boss where they say, I want you to do this or fix this, and if they take on the information, they're willing to learn, they're adaptable. But if they don't, then there's only so much growth as a person in general in terms of every part of your life, really.
Well, I mean, it's a simple thing. Like there was a saying that I was always told as a kid: it's better to be green and growing than ripe than rotting. So it's like I think like even you speak to like I speak to a lot of people, and I've spoken to a lot of people in the world of pro wrestling and a lot of veterans. And one of the questions that I asked one particular veteran was, "What's been your favorite match of your career?" And he's like, I don't know, I haven't had it yet. And this is a guy that's been around for like 30 years. And I'm like, fuck. That's, you know what I mean? Like, that's holding yourself at a high standard. And this guy is a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy.
I think especially for people who are like a perfectionist as well, where you can go, oh, I really enjoyed that match. But okay, I did this wrong. I probably could have done this better. That kind of looked like shit. Or I think for me personally, I've had matches that I've enjoyed, but I can watch bang go, I did that wrong. That could have been better. That looked a bit shit. And then it kind of like sours the experience for you to a certain degree. But if you don't pull yourself up on the certain stuff, or if someone else doesn't pull you up, then how are you going to learn? You'll just accept that you're, I'm okay. Or there's that delusion where you go, oh no, I'm actually pretty good.
But that's the thing. It's that false sense of delusion and that false sense of confidence. And then it's like, then when people who have that and they're not getting the opportunities they think, then they start manifesting bullshit up in their head, like, oh, I'm not getting this opportunity due to politics or whatever. It's like, well, no, it's you haven't taken on any advice and you haven't taken on feedback and tried to improve yourself. It's like sitting in that false sense of delusion, or almost like being a mark for yourself to a certain extent, really, right?
I think that I found just doing shows all like up and down, like north and south and blah, 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 like in terms of New South Wales, I've found that there's a lot of people where if they get pushed very fast, probably a little bit too early for how their skill level has gone, even if they're like have been doing a year or something. I find that there's a lot of people when they get a really big push by a certain company before they're really ready, and then once they go down, or if they need to like, oh, you're gonna lose the belt to so and so, and they go, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I hate this, or they get a push. I think that's okay. That's where I need to. That's where I should be. The push sort of drops down, which is just naturally what happens with everyone, and then they have a problem with it because they go, "Oh, I wrestled so and so in this match. I should be higher," but then you can't lock up.
Yeah, 100%. But like, how often would you like? Do you see people like that in the industry at the moment that have like been pushed to the top straight away and then sort of dwindling down? And do we still see a lot of politics in that sort of environment?
I think it's in certain companies where there's like it's a very closed off sort of thing where they think they exist in this bubble where they think like they get quite a good push by that company that they think that this is what they are. Like, okay, this company sees me as a high level talent, so that automatically means I should be a high level talent everywhere. But like because there's a lot of stuff in terms of New South Wales wrestling, but Australian wrestling in general, that I might be a high level, like a main event talent here, but I'm not one of the main guys of this company. So I'll be maybe the middle, maybe sometimes I'll be a little bit lower. And you kind of have to accept that everywhere you go, you're not going to be like, everything is like this because as well, it may not be the story that company wants to tell, or you just may be seen in a certain way at this company, and then at this company they see you this way, and that's fine. Like there's nothing sort of like I've had like things where I'm like the main event of a certain company, I go to another one and I'm like wrestling the opener, and that's like understandable. It's just like you kind of have to be aware that's like everyone, as they say, it's like everyone likes a different flavor of ice cream. Someone may absolutely froth for what I do, and the other person goes, "Oh, you're not really that good, and I don't really care about what you do." But
Well, I mean, I think that that's the way that wrestling has been for so long. I mean, you look at it, Ron Simmons at WCW, first, person of color to hold a world heavyweight title in wrestling. And then he goes over to WWF and becomes a Spartan warrior. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, yeah.
and Stone Cold Steve Austin over in WCW was a mid carder, fired from there, goes over to WWE, becomes a world champion. So I think it's like, as you said, different flavors of ice cream and what people can see, and I think that that's just like the nature of wrestling in a lot of ways. Yeah,
Of course, and like it's just with a lot of companies, it's just like there's some people in New South Wales that really should be like every show they should be top of the card because how good of a talent they are, but it's just not every company they go. It's just their main sort of guys. That's just that particular person isn't part of the story they want to tell. But I think
but those level quality of performers that they're going to other shows, they should be wanting to go in there and help the industry grow and make it better. So, like working with someone who, is up and coming, or working, a main event match against, you who's the top guy at this company, and then you know what I mean, like then you get to test yourself against a high caliber person, and then this person gets to see how you perform in the ring.
yeah, I think it depends on which companies it's at. Like there's been the things where I've had the opportunity to be offered, oh, who do you want to wrestle? Who do you want to wrestle? And I've gone, give me this particular guy. I know I can have like it may not be like draw, it may not draw, but it would be a decent sort of like main event match.
Yeah.
But then they've gone, oh, they won't sell tickets and I don't want to push him. So then they go, don't do him. How about you have this guy? And you go, sure, you kind of like, you want to suggest stuff. And then to a certain point you go, sure, you do whatever you want to do. I'll be there and I'll do whatever you want to do.
But I feel like that's the thing though. Like when it comes to promoters and stuff, when they're the ones investing the money, they're the ones that are going to want to book it the way that they want to see. And it's just like again one of the things like I've noticed in wrestling, and I've picked that up very quick. And I had a company wanting me to do the booking for them, and I did a couple of ideas, and the promoter went, "No, I want to go a different way," and I'm like, "All right." You know what I mean? Like it's when someone's like financially invested, they want to have that control over the show. Like they want to have that idea that it was theirs that's on the show.
Of course. I guess it's like the same thing where, we could both watch a movie and I could go, that was a really good movie. And you go, was it really? Like I feel bad because I make fun of her for it for quite a bit. Like me and my partner we'll be at home and we'll say, "Oh, let's watch a movie." And I go, "How about you pick the movie? Let's make it something funny." And there's this particular movie that I constantly remind her of that I really did not find funny. It was an Owen Wilson movie called Drill Bit Taylor, and I'd bring it up every single time to her. And I go, you can pick a movie, but like it better not be something fucking shit like that. And she'll tell me every time that she always tells me that I'm wrong, but. Yeah, I question some of her choices of movies after that, unfortunately. I love her very much, but I think, as I say, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the thing. Like wrestling is a subjective, thing. And I think like any type of performance, like music, movies, TV, anything out in real pop culture is always going to be subjective. What some people will like, other people won't like. And I've always said like a good wrestling show should kind of be like a buffet or a smorgasbord of professional wrestling. Okay, you like high flying, like indie, fast paced, flippy shit. Here's a match for that. You like tag team wrestling? Here's a tag team match. You want big heavyweights beating the shit out of each other? Here's that. You want a hardcore? Here's that. And you have these different elements, and I think that that's what puts on the best wrestling shows, when you can sort of really display different types and different genres of pro wrestling on the one card.
Yeah, like and it's sometimes it can take a bit of time to actually work out what works for you. Like I've done shows where it's been pretty much booked comedy based, because the hope was like, oh, there'll be a lot more casual sort of people. They won't give a shit about wrestling. We'll give them some ha-ha. And then you get these matches where it'd be a comedy match, but then they would throw in like the WWF 90s like finishes. It'd be like, someone hit a rock bottom, then a pedigree, stunner, and the people were going like ape shit because one, it was like they knew wrestling, but as well, they were hoping for some sort of wrestling. But sometimes it can take a good few shows to work out kind of a worst. But as you said, like it's a good when you got a mixture of them. And like that's like really good how, say, companies like PWA, they've got very good like high quality wrestlers, and then there's some guys that do really good comedy sort of spots. And so there's that mixture of sort of like and then they throw in like every now and then like they've got like they've got a cage match coming up this month or whenever it is. And so then there's a mixture of different stuff, like the always kind of get different sort of like people like fans involved and stuff, where it's good that they sort of do that sort of thing where it's as you said, it's a mixture of everything, so you can kind of like get a little bit of everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's where like we really grow as a company, and you even see performers grow with fans. But man, once like let's sort of just take it back a little bit, like back to you here. Like, so once you sort of realize you did that seminar with Bob Holly, like where did you then sort of start like going to sort of perfect the craft a little bit?
So when I realized that, I was just like, oh shit, okay, I'm not as good as I think I am. Where I went was I did a bit of a stint with PWA. I ran through their beginners class. I was quite like involved in like the school. I moved up to their second level, and then I was kind of like, I think in the back of my head, I was kind of like, oh, like I was 24, I think, at the 23, 24. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I've gone into this 5 years later that I really should have. So then I ended up leaving their school, which was lovely. Like, it was awesome. It fixed so many things that I did. And then so I went to another school because the hope was, it was like, if I go to this school, I'll get booked on shows quicker. Like before, before I went to like the second school, I'd wrestled like one match up in Queensland, which is a story in of itself. But I went to another school, and sort of like there was a lot of stuff that I took from that school that I still use to this day, but then there was a lot of bad habits that I got. So I had to go. I was still, at the same time, mind you, I was still going to Balkans training because it was like a Monday and a Saturday. So it was still like plenty of time to go to it. And then once I went to this particular school, after a while, like I did a few shows for them, but a lot of us weren't sort of happy with how it was going. So then I went, the main thing that I did in terms of training, and it cost me a lot, but I wanted to get better, and I wanted to like actually get to something where I could be proud of what I was doing to a certain degree. The main training that I would say that I've had is I spent about 2 years doing private sessions with Mick Moretti through the PWA school, just doing like whatever times we could do, pretty much as like personal training, one-on-one sessions. That was like the main thing that helped me go from body guy that could wrestle kind of okay, kind of shitty matches to someone that was a bit more a respectable sort of worker where people would not be opposed to book me on other shows.
Yeah. And like, is that something that was important to you, to not just be like a body guy, but someone who could go in there and be like a steady worker that people could want to work?
Yeah, and I think for me as well, that in the back of my head, there was always the thing of how are you going to get it looked at by, like WWE, or at the time, because there was no AEW at the time. How are you going to get, looked at? And it's not by being a shit wrestler. Like, it's unfortunately, it's like, it's a different time. Like, say it was the 80s and 90s. If you were big and jacked, if you can kind of wrestle, you could possibly get signed. When now it's like, unless you're like 7'5" and jacked, you're probably not going to get a look, unless if you can wrestle to a competent level.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like for you, like going and then training at PWA, then going and training at Vulcan, and then another school, like when you started getting onto shows, like how did you find like the Lee Morrow gimmick? Like how long did it take you to sort of get to where like you were in the gimmick, you were comfortable with it, and you were running on all cylinders with it?
Oh Jesus, it depends on how many names I went through first. My first wrestling name before I got to Lee Morrow, which I thought was really cool at the time. Then I started cringy. It was a bit cringy. Was Stan the Man Callahan. That was my first wrestling name.
That is awesome.
Which I kind of like now, but then after a while, I was just like, get me the fuck away from this name. It was that, and then I spent a bit of a time wrestling for AWE. And I wrestled under Steve Brave, which was like it was a good experience. It was a good experience, that wrestling there, where I learnt a lot more so by the people I was in there with, a little experiences of learning lessons.
Yeah.
And then so once I stopped wrestling there, the only thing that helped me sort of like get to that name was I was at work. I really liked the name Lee. And because at the time, this is what I wanted to go with, because I really liked how Anthony Mundine used to run with it. But now, of course, I've changed it all, that I wanted something to run with the man. So it was Lee, because it was just short, like it was a short name, the man.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through the database of all it was just like, oh my God, I work at a gym. There you go.
Yeah.
Looking through all the database, I just wanted to start with M, and it was just Morrow. And it kind of, to me, it kind of spoke in the way of like sound old westerny sort of like thing. I'm not a big fan of it now because it was like Lee the Man Morrow. That's what I wanted to be. And then of course with like, the stuff that Becky was doing on TV, she's calling herself the Man. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, okay, I can't call myself the Man anymore, because then everyone was going, oh, you bloody, you call yourself the Man, but I thought it was just like Becky Lynch and all this sort of stuff. So I had to drop that. And then it was sort of like, I'm like, fuck. So I was kind of stuck with a name that I really wasn't fully into. Then I went, I'll go the Lee Morrow, just sort of like get some sort of catchphrase sort of going for me personally. Yeah. And it's really over like the last, pretty much the whole journey is trying to find, like, I think a lot of wrestlers do the thing when, especially when you first start out, where you're like, how does a wrestler act? I think for me personally, it was like doing promos. It was like, I was just like, I would think, okay, how would The Rock speak if he was me? Of course, like people go, oh, that's funny. Oh, but then I would go, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. And then I would get people who go, oh yeah, I can tell you're trying to be a wrestler. And I think it was just over time that I personally found that and you can probably, like, there's a lot of friends, probably even ask my own mother, where I find that naturally, I believe I'm a nice person, but naturally I lean towards being a little bit of a prick. Like,
really?
even just like, but a lot of it's joking, but then there's a lot of stuff where I think just naturally I lean towards being a bit of a prick. So it's kind of like,
but what do you mean? Like, can you give us an example? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be a nice guy, like hold the door open for someone, then like trip them up as they're walking through. Like
the stuff where, I'll go up to people and go, oh, how's it going, big man? You got any girls? And like, like, oh, you ever, felt the warmth of a woman on you and stuff like that, where it's like what? Like, I'm just trying to think of like it's just stuff where I've had, like, I have a tendency to say stuff that will kind of, people will go, oh wow, that was really rude. Like, it's, like, I'll get people like that, like, oh, it was really good working, and I go, oh, I wish I could say the same, but in a joking way, of course. But like, as I said, naturally that what I will lean towards. Like,
yeah.
I think I'm okay to my mother, to a certain degree, but
I think if you're wrestling someone and they come up and say, "Oh, you're a nice match," and they don't know you.
Sorry,
I said, but if you're wrestling with someone and like they don't like know who you are personally, and you just go, "Yeah, I wish I could say the same," they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Like, I do try to pull it in, because there's like, I know personally I've had people when I've spoken to them and I've been very sort of quiet, meek, mild manner, like I'll talk to the, I'll be introduced to them, and then they'll be the same to me, and I go, who the fuck's this guy? And I realize that I've naturally have a tendency to do the same to them, which is a bit like, I can probably, like, I feel like as I've gotten older, it's kind of been, I've kind of reeled it in a little bit. Because you understand, like, as you said, like, some people won't sort of like some people won't resonate with them sort of well, like we did on. Do you know Hunter Hayes?
Yeah, I know. I don't know him. Like, I've met him.
But I met him before.
I know of him. I met him at a show. Yeah.
Yeah, like we did. It was for last weekend for Wrestling Go. I did a triple threat match with one of the guys who's his students, and and there was the night after I wrestled him, and I'm just like, I grabbed the guy, DDT, I just go, bad street, baby. And like, none of the fans get what we're doing, but I'm just like taking a piss with the guy we're doing DDT, and then I sent the Hunter, and he just went, "You're a fucking dickhead." Like, no one understood the reference at all there, because it was like kids and parents had no idea. They probably thought that was my gimmick, but
Yeah, they'll just you're doing it to really pop the wrestlers in the
Yeah.
back. So, but how was Wrestling Go to work? How was that show? Because I think they did that show they did the show for the Black Dog Institute, I believe. Right?
Yes, yeah. It was quite hard, I think, because it was on a Friday night. So, most people working full time. So, a lot of times people finish 5:30, 6 o'clock. So you kind of can't have like an early sort of show on a Friday night if you want people to actually turn up to it. So I think the show started around 7:30. So the problem was the show ended up having to go quite late. It was good because I could raise a fair bit of money. Like I had because I've stopped wearing kick pads a long time ago because I don't throw kicks. I had like a random one. I had a random one at home, and I went to John and I just said, look, hey, we'll get all the boys to sign it, or the boys and girls to sign it, raffle it off or something. And then one of the fans won it. No, it was good. The only thing was the wrestlers a heel, and all the people that were there have only ever seen me wrestle as a babyface. So it was kind of like I walked in a heel and I walked out a babyface when I won. So I don't think I did a super good job because I didn't high five. I think I high fived one person that had my shirt on. And then at the end, I just went, fuck it. And I just started high fiving people and then bailed. So
how do you what? So normally when that sort of thing happens, if you're a heel and you get a babyface reaction, what's your sort of go-to to try and sort of turn the crowd?
I think for me personally, I think it's more so been the other way around where I've thought, I've wrestled a good few heel versus heels matches. And in my head, I'm like, I've done this silly promo. Oh, they'll probably like me a little bit more. And then they fucking hate me. They hate me more than the other guy. I've done it a fair bit where it's been where I've turned the other guy babyface. Where me, aside from last weekend, I said most of the time it's like, if I'm a heel and I get a bit of a reaction, it's more so because I've done something silly or funny just to fuck around sort of thing. But it's more so the other way around, to be honest. And for me personally, I'm ready to go in the way of if you want to change something, let's go. I've had the only problem is there's a lot of people that's they are very, say you set out a match, they are very set and this is what we are going to do. Where me personally, I'm ready to, if we want to change something, I've had way too many matches where shit's gone wrong and you just do it on the fly. I've had it where you're oh, I need to hit this guy with this weapon, and you go, okay, where the fuck's the thing? And you just go, I remember one match I had, I was supposed to hit a guy with a chair. We did something early in the match and the chair broke. So I'm lying and I'm like, fuck, okay, what do we do? And then so I just turned one of the guys, one of the guy who's just the ring announcer, and I went, just give me your chair. And I know it was some shitty dining table chair. And I'm I was sitting. The dude I was wrestling, he was probably oh, fuck, I hope this guy doesn't fucking kill me. I, of course, put my hand over it, just Triple H style, because I'm a fucking mark, and then just popped him in the face with a chair, and then this hokey bullshit. Because, like I said, because a lot of it can and will go wrong, but a lot of times people they will shit the bed when there's when something bad happens. We had a good few years ago, we had I was doing some multi-man, I don't even know how many people, it might have been 14 men in it or something, multi-man for FWA. And there was really early on the match, one of the dudes puts his hands up and shatters the chandelier that's about above the.
I've heard that, yeah.
And the thing was, there's glass in the ring, and everyone most of them are all still trying to wrestle in the glass. So I'm trying to tell people to change this, and they're just still going hell for leather. I'm still taking some spine bust or something in the glass. I'm thinking these, you're not gonna you're not going to take a glass bump for something that you're not like, it's not an intentional thing. So people aren't going to go like
Yeah.
if they pulled out a bag of glass, put it all over, then people will go, oh my God, when there's little shards of glass everywhere, the people aren't going to, you're going to take a bump in glass and people aren't going to pop for it. So
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I find a lot of people struggle to kind of like on the fly sort of thing, but it comes with experience as well. Like I've had people where I'm walking out, I'm like, I'm the fucking best. And then someone's taking a swipe at me and I've got like this, and I go, oh, like I've panicked because and I've taken myself away from the character, like where I've come back a little bit more sort of meek and mild mannered. But like I said, it comes with experience, but then as well, you kind of need to be open to that experience as well. Like in terms of where people panic when it goes wrong, but then there's a lot of people who go, oh, if it goes wrong, who gives a shit? We'll work it out.
Yeah. And I think like, yeah, as far as like someone taking a swipe at you though, like have you had that happen like before? Like you've had like a member of the audience trying to have a crack?
Oh no, this is just a wrestler. Like I'm just walking out and he's put his hand through the rope and taking a swipe, and I'm like, oh shit. So I've panicked.
Yeah.
But in the way of like it's taken me away from it. I wasn't expecting it. So like it all comes with like experience, when now if that happened to me, like I would be able to take it with my stride. But I think that comes down to as well, like the thing of where you think, okay, this is how a wrestler should act and this is how a wrestler should be. And then you've kind of taken away from you like how you would naturally would react. Like if you were like this, like, you know, if you were the big red machine Kane and someone's like swiping, you don't go, oh, shit. No. Because it's my, where if you're just yourself, you can just kind of react a little bit more naturally, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. So also one of the things I was going to ask you about as well, like I heard through the grapevine that you might be going over and training at the Nightmare Academy.
Oh my God! It's the worst kept secret in New South Wales wrestling. So for me personally, I turned 30 years old this year, and it was kind of like I personally have not felt ready before that, in the way of where 30 is considered like, depending where you are, like for example, if you're looking to get signed by a company, say like for WWE, they could go either way. They could go, you're really awesome, but you're too old. Like there's guys like Grayson Waller who got like, I think is like a year older than me, and like he got signed quite old. And then there's for a while they were like, okay, we want early 20s collegiate athletes so we can train them. But then there's AEW where there's like, I think it was like Wardlow was like picked up by the company when he was 30 and stuff like that, and he was like a local indie guy sort of worker. So it's kind of like, for me personally, it's like if I don't try and like go over then have a go, kind of now you kind of have to accept that like there's a good chance that nothing's really going to happen, because once you turn 31, 32, which of course I'll turn 31 next year, but there's that thing where they'll look at that number and go, okay, no, you're way too old. In terms of fixing little things that you do wrong, or if you're an indie worker that you've had, you might have a lot of bad traits. So it's going next year in January. It's pretty much just doing the 12-week camp. It's pretty much from scratch, which I'm fully aware of that. Like I've been doing it the past 7 years, but I'm fully aware of like, and I'm very happy to like correct maybe little things that I do wrong. The main thing is just like in Australian wrestling, unless you're wrestling for certain companies, you probably will never get a look at. So for me, it's like, where in my head I was kind of hopeful. It's like, if you stick it out of this country, keep doing what you're doing, you'll get a look at. But then of course there was COVID, so they were like, they haven't been to, like a WWE hasn't been to Australia for years. So luckily it's all kind of open up again now. So it's just like January, go for 12 weeks. If, make some connections with people. If something happens, like I'm getting a lot of friends like, oh, you'll be on bloody AEW Dark. Like, doing job matches. And I'm like, look, if something happens, awesome. If nothing happens, I'll come back, keep working. If I never get signed by anywhere or anything, I've I've as I was younger, I was kind of in my head was like, oh my god, like I need to I need to get signed. I have to get signed. Where I'm kind of like now I'm at the age where I've kind of accepted where if something happens, awesome. If nothing happens, or just maybe if it's a little something happens, I'll accept it, because you can't wrestle forever. And I think for me personally, I think in terms of everything I'm doing, I think I'm at quite a good quite a good position for myself, where everything's kind of fallen into place for me, like me personally. So it's kind of like it's all built up, and I'm kind of I'm at like a certain level of my life where I feel like I can go over there and feel comfortable and confident to a certain degree, where like I could show what I can do to them, even though it's a 12-week camp where they're teaching people from scratch. But if something happens, awesome. If it doesn't, I'll come back, and just go from there, to be honest.
Are you going to try and get booked when you're over there on indie shows?
I haven't really looked into it like seriously. It's just hard because where the camp is supposed to be in McDonough, Georgia, which I know Florida is about 9 hours north. It's like 20 minutes away from the Atlanta airport. If probably when I get closer to January, I'll probably have a little look, possibly as well. The camp's only Monday to Thursday, so you never know where it could be. The coaches or people around, they go, oh, hey, would you want to come to this show? Or I can check little things out. I haven't really seriously looked into it. It'd be awesome if I did, but again, like I said, if nothing really, if I just did the camp and nothing happened from it, I'll come back. I'll probably be more confident. Yeah, and I'll just come back and just keep doing what I'm doing, really, and that's all I can really do.
So with the camp, it's from start to finish. So you're going to be training with people taking their first bumps. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So it's it would have been awesome if they had an option of, I know some schools, they had a thing where it's outside of their 10 or 12-week camp where you could just do a more advanced sort of classes. You can do them for as long as you want them. You pay $20 for a session or something like that. I looked into some of the schools like that, but it was more for me personally. It was that the camp, of course, was it's owned by Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, where the thing would be I'll learn something, but as well, the connections that they have to the big companies as well. More so is the appeal, but as well, I'll definitely know I'll learn something. One of the coaches is Glacier from, I can't remember his actual real name, but from WCW, he's one of the trainers. I think I'll learn a fair bit as well, which is the good thing. But if I get booked somewhere, awesome. If I don't, but like I said, I think all of us kind of have tendencies to have little bad habits. But as well, if you go to one wrestling school, they'll go, you do it this way, and you go to another one, they go, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. So there may be a thing where they change a heap of stuff that I do, and then I think me personally, I find that I'm quite adaptable. I've had 3 or 4 years where I had really bad habits, and I think for me, I enforced it hard enough that I can I can change sort of stuff. I'm watching footage of me recently from match. I'm like, wow, that was real shit. And then I'm at training, I'm go, oh, okay, let me try it this way. I think because this year I've worked a heap, worked more babyface than I have ever this past year. So I'm what do babyface do? They throw chops, but I can't throw a fucking chop to save my life. So I'm sort of okay, well, I gotta find a way a certain way to throw a chop that works for me without making it look like just like make it look menacing for me personally. Like I know I've tried at training to throw, and I've had very bad reviews in the way of that they really fucking hurt. Is throwing the way Osprey throws a chop, which is more like everything like across the whole chest, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
people go, "Oh, it's good sound. Fucking hurts like hell," but so.
And you're a big dude too, man. So like those forearm chops would cave someone's chest in, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I had a tendency when I first started to really be quite stiff or sloppy, I think, because I was a bit stronger than a lot of people. And like as I've matured as a person, I've realized how
Yeah.
horrible that's been as well. Like I was like one of my friends that like still like wrestles on and off to this day, Chris Zorba. Like I love him to death. But like when we like used to wrestle years ago, I threw like it was like I personally like taking hits. So I was throwing forearms at him like no tomorrow in the hopes that he would throw something back or like, get him in the corner, throw a knee and then hit him straight in the fucking chin. I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, that was really fucking cool. When now I look at it, I'm embarrassed because I was overusing like my power. And then I remember one time it was me and a friend were doing training with Mick Moretti, and I threw a forearm, and my friend was just like, "Fuck, that was really really hard." And then Mick went, "Okay, give it to me," and I throw it, and he went, "Yeah, it's really hard." And I went, "Oh fuck!" Like you want to be snug, but at the same time, you don't want to be that guy that people go, "Oh fuck, I don't want to work here," because it's just like everything feels like it hurts when it really shouldn't, if you get what I mean. Like some people
100%.
can be like, snug, and I've got no problem with that. Like I've had plenty of times when people have kicked the shit out of me. But you don't want to be that guy where it just feels like everything you do is just snug, but it's kind of like sloppy snug, if you get what I mean.
Well, I always like you look at Bret Hart's, way of wrestling, where it's like he looked like he was killing people and just absolutely laying it in thick, and he was
Yeah.
always like, just like he was. You hear people tell stories about him. He was so light. It's like, what I mean? Like if you can be light and but make it look like you're laying it in, that then you've won
Yeah.
you've won the battle, really, haven't you?
Yeah. I think like you have to kind of find a balance between the two where you kind of want to feel like when you're locking on with someone, you kind of want to feel of a little something, but you don't want to feel like, holy shit, this guy's going to break my arms just from how tight the lockup is. But then I've wrestled with guys with their lockup is so light, which is awesome for some people, but then you're trying to like work it and they've got like in like a hole and it's very light and it looks amazing, but then you can't work it because it feels like there's like no sort of feeling to it. I think me
Yeah.
personally, I think a bit of a balance in between, like not where you're killing dudes, but not at the same time where it's like you can't sort of feel anything to register anything.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, like when you're getting in there, you don't want to end up hurting someone either. So it's like, what I mean? I'm sure it's like a fine line of like you want it to make it look good as well, but again, trying to be safe as well, and making sure that people walk out the same way they walk in, right?
Yeah, like I would be lying if I said that like I have lost my temper on a few occasions when I've wrestled. More so from just people like being quite
Yeah,
like kind of unsafe, or there's been some people that have felt they've been very untrained, and you're giving your body to that particular person, and then they're kind of abusing it. Like I understand, I've done the same fucking thing,
yeah,
but it's kind of like as you get older, I think because I take it so like I'm very passionate about sort of like passionate about about wrestling and stuff. Like I said, I know it sounds calling the kettle black, though. I used to like stiff people and stuff because I thought that they would give it back to me and they didn't. But then there was like times where I've had people where it's kind of like quite unsafe, and then I've had the tendency to lose my temper a little bit. Like I've had dudes like pop me in the jaw, but like more so just because untrained sloppiness. And
Yeah.
and then it's just like, when me, it's just like everything. Then everything starts getting a little bit, tired, and I grab it's a little bit, and then they say, "Oh no, it's fine." But like, where to me that's like I've had dudes where like matches have gone wrong, and say we're like running like a corner, like I'm running like a corner spot, and I'm running in the corner. I try to be as light as possible because I hate when people squish people. But like I've had people where we've spent the whole entire afternoon where this like dudes just told me everything we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. I'm like, okay. And then it goes to shit because they don't have really much of a clue what they're doing. And then I get a little bit fired up, and it's just like, oh, okay, as we're running that corner, I'm just gonna throw that clothesline just a little bit more meat from my chest sort of into it. So I'm not proud of how sometimes I've been, but I find that because it's just some of it I'm just so passionate about, and it's like hard because there's a lot of people in Australian wrestling that I feel like want to wrestle, they want to be in a ring, but they don't train, they don't spend any time in the gym, like they don't study it, but they still want to wrestle, or like it.
False delusions. That's what we were talking about earlier. It's like people with false delusions, man. Like, pro wrestling is, and has always been in the history like a cosmetic sport, right? Like cosmetic art form, entertainment, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It's always been a level of cosmetic. And I think as well, like, wrestling fans, when they go and they watch wrestling, they want to see people that are, that look like absolute superheroes, right? Like,
I think when I first got booked on shows, I was literally booked because they wanted someone on the poster that was like a body guy, because it was and that's how a lot of times I was booked at the beginning. Like, it's like, do a pose, do this. People would just go, "Oh, you're the body guy." You give people the middle finger and stuff, and that's all I would get booked on. And it was kind of like, it was good because I was getting bookings, which is awesome. But and then it got to a certain sort of point where I was just getting booked just on that, and like, I'm thankful that I've gotten to a certain point where people can go, "Okay, he's got a bit of muscle, but he can do more. But it's just, like I said, there's a lot of people that I find there's a lot more quantity of wrestlers than quality sometimes. Like when I first got in, like the first match we had to drive to Queensland because there was nowhere really to wrestle or like to get easy bookings from. Where now it's like you can every weekend there's like a show on, and like anyone could possibly get on it. Like there's like, I think there was like 2 wrestling shows tonight, and I think there's probably like a couple tomorrow night. And like I said, when I started like 6 years ago, there was like, you were lucky you could get booked at all. Like I said, we had to go to Queensland to get booked because there wasn't, like, Vulcan didn't have his own shows going. If you didn't have ties, or if you weren't part of that particular school, you weren't going to get booked at all. When now it's like, it's kind of like anyone and everyone has their own fed at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of promotions going on, and I think it's a good thing because it's, there's a lot out there for, the fans to really take in. More options as well for people to go and wrestle, and for people to network, and I think that's also a good sign as well. But yeah, definitely a lot of promotions that just keep popping up. One of the things I wanted to also touch on, because we were talking about people getting a bit too strong armed in the ring and stuff like that. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, like, do you think as well, like, a lot of people that, as you said, were either untrained or, very, very green, when they get in front of a live crowd, that they get amped up, and it's like they start you know what I mean? Like they start working themselves into like.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it was a couple months ago, I worked a guy I would consider a friend, and we were like having a little bit having a bit of practice beforehand, and he's like, we're like, okay, we'll lock up, and it was really it was really tight, really tight. And well, okay, you need to really you really need to kind of loosen up, because like I said, if you really it was like lock up, headlock, and it was really tight and really snug, and I'm like, look, man, you got to loosen up. I'm gonna give you like a warning now. You need to loosen up. And then he was really he was really good. It's probably someone you met before. A wrestler named Mickey V. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
We locked up, headlock, and before the show, and I just said, look, you're gonna have to really lighten up, because I probably will get a little bit mad if everything is feeling because as well, he's poor dude's probably 40 kilos lighter than me. So, but I think there's a lot of people, they do get nervous, but I think for me, there's a lot of guys, I find that a lot of them, a little bit of snugness, but a lot of times the newer ones, they just get really lost. And then the main ones that I find get really snug but unsafe are the ones that just have this delusion that they're really higher up than they actually are, because no one's really pulling them up because how snug they are, or they're doing this, and they're kind of it's a little bit, can go a little bit both sort of ways. But most of the stuff, in terms of, I said, most of the people that I find that are very new, they just forget stuff and they get lost, and that's okay. It's happened to me. It's happened to everyone.
But that's where it's your job as the veteran is to sort of help guide through that when you're in that situation.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've had people that, I've and especially as well, that happens a fair bit, especially if you wrestle in front of a certain crowd, or in a certain venue where it's very loud, and you're trying to yell spots, you're trying to tell that person spots, and you're they're not listening, and you go, what the fuck, you're not listening to me? Why the fuck are you not listening to me? And then you realize later that they literally just could not hear you. But then sometimes some people have a tendency to do this, and then so you don't know if it probably doesn't help in terms of how much they can hear. Yeah, like I said, it's just that, that thing, especially as well. It's really good, especially if you've got a bit more experience and you're working as a heel. It's a lot easier because you can, if it goes to shit, you just beat them down, work them over, call a hope spot. Where I find if you've got a bit more experience, someone is a baby face, and the dudes, unless you lead them, there's a tendency to where either they rush everything and crowd over you, or they go too slow, and then you're standing there okay, fuck, I'm going to have to start fighting back. I don't care what's the next thing. I just have to start fighting back because it makes you look bad. Where it's kind of the thing is, they will make you look bad over everything, is if the guy's over here trying to work some random woman, and then they come back, and if you don't do anything, it makes you look bad over anything. And you could kind of save what the bad guy's sort of doing, or the heel's doing, because they're being distracted. They come back, where it's a lot easier if they're a good guy, because it's just if you're inexperienced as a good guy, you can just beat the dude down, choke the dude, get in the slow down. Even if they just lie there like a sandbag, you can just pick them up. You just pose, you do all that type of stuff. But everyone's different. It's just, but as well, some people just get that deer in the headlights sort of panic sort of look on their face as well. It's happened to me before as well. It's not something where I've remembered every single thing. I've been in the sometimes I've been very lucky, and as we're wrestling, I just somehow remember some of the spots. But but yeah, like for me personally, I'm not a perfect wrestler. And I'll never say that I'm like a perfect wrestler. I've fucked up plenty of matches. I still throw some pretty fucking horrid strikes sometimes.
But I think we're always going to be our own worst critic, though.
Yeah.
Like I've seen you work, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like you've got a good look, you know, you work well for, you know, from what I saw at a match at Loco.
As Mr. Australia, yeah.
As Mr. Australia, dude, like
Yeah.
I think that, you know, you probably like don't give yourself enough credit, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, like I think it's the thing where, say, I'll watch a match and I'll like say like that match I think that you probably saw. I found that like I personally wasn't a big, like I wasn't fully happy with sort of how I did in that particular match, if I'm thinking of the right one. I think because I wrestled Tyson Gibbs, I think, which I think was the last Yo Loco show that they've ran. And I think me personally, like I didn't think I did really that well, because it's like I'll throw a certain strike and some people go, oh, it looks fine. And they go, nah, it looks kind of shit. But like, I think as well, like for me, but like I think as over time, I think I found like, I'm like, okay, this is how you should throw a kick or sell this. But what I personally do, it's not like something I'm doing something really bad. It's just personally, I don't like the way I throw it, sort of thing. But to the other person, they go, oh no, it's fine. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong. Yeah.
Own worst critic, man, as I said.
Of course, yeah.
But dude, like another thing I wanted to talk to you about was controversy. You know, like you were involved in a little bit of controversy last year, man. And
Of course, yeah.
you know, like what is it like? Do you find like for yourself which draws that controversy to you?
I think I have a tendency to sort of. I think sometimes I have a tendency to sort of lean into stuff that I think I will find funny, or I think my mates will find funny. But everyone has a certain an acquired taste when it comes to humor, where I might find, you know, like me personally, I thought for years that South Park was really dumb. And then it was like, I don't know if it was last year, the beginning of this year or something, I watched every episode and I'm like, I became this massive fan. But then some people, especially now, they're very like it's insanely politically incorrect. A lot of the stuff they do, even still do to this day. But I think in this day and age, you've got to be a lot more aware of like everyone has a different story. Like for everyone's different, and like where say like for me personally, like my own upbringing wasn't like the greatest. Like when I was 13, like my father passed of cancer, but then that's my story. But then there's a lot of people that have like a totally different story. Like there's a lot of people that have been very fortunate to have both parents in their life, or like massive families. Like I don't have a massive family. Everyone's like story is different, and I think sometimes you kind of forget that, if you get what I mean. Like everyone's different, and like I think you sometimes have to be a little bit more aware to like you don't want to like cut your own nuts off, but at the same time, I think you still need to like be very thoughtful of other people's sort of like in terms of like feelings and thoughts. Like everyone's sort of different in the way of how they handle sort of like certain jokes. Like for me personally, I've said to people where when I go to the Nightmare Factory in January, that I'll go, I'll just be happy with a photo with Cody Rhodes, and then like I'll run up to him as a pitch, and I go, oh look, Cody, look, we've both got dead dads, you know, like we have so much in common, like where that's what I do as like a sort of thing where. But then there's a lot of people, because they haven't had that same experience, that people go, oh fuck, like whoa, like a lot, Like
But
there's like
see,
a
you've
group
got a
thing.
you've got a dark humor, but like the
Yeah.
thing is as well, like you know what jokes are gonna go over with certain people, right? Like you know
Yes,
what
of
I mean?
course.
Like I like a filthy joke just like the next
Mm,
person, right? So,
yeah.
but I know exactly like I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go up to and drop like F bombs and C bombs in front of my
Yeah.
my 7-year-old mother. You know what I mean?
Of
Like
course.
it's
Yeah.
I think it's like your audience though. Like, but do you feel like there's been times where like you've had no filter in that moment? You've just been like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like in a good
Yeah.
mood, you just been going and you just felt like more comfortable than what you should have, and you said something, and it's like, have you found yourself in that situation?
I think I've had it in terms of like where I've like made a joke or I've made a post or if I've made a video and I've had it sort of where in my head I'm like, oh, this is really funny. This will pop the boys or it'll like get some likes and stuff. And then someone goes, no, it's a bit too over the top, or like we're not a fan of that. Like, where say for example, like where I've wrestled for a company, I've made like a video and they said, actually, well, fuck it, who cares? I'm wrestling for a company in Canberra, Slam Pro League,
Yeah,
and I made a video, and I sent it to the head people, and they said, look, like that one person said, look, I really love it, but it's a bit too over the top for us personally. And in my head, I was just like, oh fuck, like I was like, but then I kind of watched the video, and I was kind of like I watched it. I'm like, yeah, no, I can see that. Like where I've seen them going, it was at the time like, fuck, this is really funny. This is probably like the best video I've ever made. And then once they sort of pulled me up on it, I look at the video and I go, I watched through the video and it's kind of like it's a little bit it's over the top, but also a bit try hard as well. Like it's trying to be like funny, 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 which can sometimes work, but at the same time, you kind of need that like you need a bit of an ebb and flow. You don't want to be where like if you go watch like a comedy routine, they don't go tell joke straight away after joke straight off. It's like there's a
there's a
joke, bit
transition.
of a build up, joke, a little bit of a build up. Where I think there's the thing for me, it's like I will see a certain way, and someone will pull me up, like someone go, like I've done like promos that I've like shot years ago, and like people are like, oh, that's really good. But it was just like me trying to put on this wrestling voice, and I'd like, and I sent it to a mate and I said, what do you think? And he went, yeah, I can tell you were trying to be a wrestler, but it deflates you when you post something or you make something you think, okay, this is funny, or this will, resonate with people, or people find funny, and like they tell you it's not,
Yeah,
or like, oh, it's a bit too try hard, and like it deflates you. But then like once that deflation sort of wears off, you sort of go, oh, okay, no, I can see how not everyone's going to like a certain thing, or is not going to sort of sit well with a certain thing. Like I said, like I would never like I would never throw in like on a wrestling promo. I would never say, dad's dead. Oh, like I would never throw in something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Um, where I think I've learned over the years where think that I've learnt what personally works for me in terms of promos, but how like what gets people sort of like
Yeah, gets their
reactions to it.
gets their thinking going. But like as far as the promo video, like
Mm.
what was it that was so off the walls that the Slam said that they didn't like about it though?
It was just, I think for me looking back at it, it was like a lot of the video was trying, I think, like I said, I think it was trying too hard to be funny. Like I did a promo video for when I wrestled for Rock and Roll Wrestling in Wollongong, and I did this video and it was just like, Wollongong, the anus of New South Wales. And like it was joke and joke and joke. And I tried to do a similar thing for Slam. But the thing was, it was like watching it back now is kind of like Canberra, the Bush capital, and it was the first thing, like the first video with the Bush capital was a dude punching a kangaroo. Which and then it was the next one was like, oh, the political center of Australia, and it was the famous video of the guy, the I was like, what is the charge? Eating a
Yeah.
meal, a succulent Chinese meal, and it's kind of like some people found it very funny, but then I could see that it was very much like it was trying to do a joke, trying to do a joke, trying to do a joke, where there was no like. When now it's kind of like for me, I probably would go if I was looking at it now, would be like, okay, the Bush capital, and then just do like something serious, the political center, something a little bit more serious, and then go into a joke. But like I said, their company is a lot more sort of like it takes its sort of company very seriously. Where I think a lot of my promos are very much, I think I try to do like a serious promo every now and then, and it's kind of works, but but it doesn't feel like natural to me, sort of thing. I've made videos where I made fun of like Robbie Eagles, I made fun of Mick Moretti, and then I've had like these videos where it was like 3 minute like 3 minutes long, where it was just like explain my whole like life story and everything leading up to this point where I end up winning the AWS Heavyweight Championship, and it kind of really worked for that story. I try to have a mixture of stuff, but at the same time, I kind of like know what my strengths are. And I think it's more just editing videos where I'm not in front of the camera. But
like if you're going from show to show and you're changing your character from being like a comedic wrestler to then a serious wrestler, like what is your character? Like
yeah.
Are you swapping it around? Like, are you like where is the character? Like, do you confuse? Like, it sounds like you could easily confuse an audience if they were going.
Of course, yeah, no, 100%. Like, I think, yeah, if you definitely like look at I think some of the videos, they work in that particular universe that I'll make one for. Like, I've had like a serious, like the last probably serious video I did was probably more like 4 or 5 months ago. I did a show for Suplex Pro Wrestling, and it was like very much like a video where I was fighting the champion. It was like this thing where it's like I'd beaten him before, I smarted him, like there was a thing where he botched in one of the matches, and like I put that in the video, and then like it was all very serious, and it kind of worked for that. But then like if you look at my social media, there's like that, and there's haha funny, and then like some dumb post. I can totally understand how you sort of mean how like it can be very confusing to the audience. Where I think now, as the years gone on, I think I found that like my more so is like it's either a bit of like serious talking, but not like I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do this, because I personally feel like I can't do that well. I can do it if I need to, but I kind of think I've leant more towards like a jokey, can sort of like have a bit of a chat. Like I think I'm getting more closer to how I am, like into how I personally am in terms of my promos. But I think there's like, say, I think more towards the end of the year in terms of like matchups that I've got potentially booked, or like they haven't been officially announced, but where I think it warrants a bit more of a serious sort of thing. But I think I'm very fortunate where I'm kind of getting booked in a lot of places as now it's more so like as a baby face, where I can kind of like have a bit of a joke, but at the same time it's like, okay, cool, I'm wrestling this guy. I can kind of afford to pull it back if it makes sense, of course. But as you said, like I totally understand where I think my like excuse would be that it's like if it's the character's more close to me as a person, that where if it's closer to me as a person, that there is this sort of up and down sort of thing. Or I think as the years gone on, I think for me personally, I want to be more closer to like a not cut and dry sort of like person. But I totally understand that like it's like, all this funny stuff, and then there's one serious video, and it kind of like where if in reality, it probably would be better if I just didn't post, like if it was like if I just didn't post promos on my page and left them to the companies to post on themselves, so they kind of exist in that sort of world. But I think like I think I'm fortunate that I'm getting booked as a babyface where I can kind of like more so that I can kind of like float between you can do like serious but more passionate, and then you can do funny because you know like people resonate with humor like if you especially as a babyface. But then if you go serious, then people it's a lot more there's a passion and people can get behind it where like some places I'm booked as a heel. Most of the ones in Sydney now I'm a babyface. It's just what 2022 has done to me, unfortunately.
I think as well, like the old school thinking is funny doesn't equal money, as Jim Cornette has put it. But like, I think like comedic wrestling is one of the hardest things to pull off because, like, bad comedy wrestling, there is nothing worse than that.
Of course, yeah. Like
there's nothing worse than bad comedy wrestling. So, like the people that do comedy wrestling really, really well, like that in itself is an art form.
Yeah. Like I think what I found, especially over this year, over last year a bit as well, that I found that the fun, like in terms of, I mean, it's probably happened to you as well, where you're scrolling through your Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you go and there's like you look and there's like, this company posts this person's video, and it's like 2.5 minutes long. It's very serious. It's very the same sort of thing. I tried to do that similar sort of thing, and like I realized, like being fully honest, I don't have a massive fan base. A lot of the people look at myself as friends and family. Where for me, I found that in terms of leaning to more towards the humor gets more people, like more reactions, more people involved. Where if I cut this like serious promo, I've never had anyone aside from it, unless if it was like a really passionate promo or very well edited. The only ones that I get in terms of people who are not wrestling fans, never come to a show, just friends of mine. If it's like a really funny video, they will go over their way to tell me there was like they found it funny, even if they've never seen who I've wrestled or never been to a show, or never watched me wrestle, that they find that personally funny. But I think I found if I can like still talk a little bit in my videos, but as well not have the videos too gaga, like too like sort of to a certain degree, where I feel like I don't want it to be where when I walk out as a wrestler that's like two sort of totally different sort of things where like even as a heel, as a babyface, I still like, even as a babyface, I still do like, you know, we'll do the test of strength and we'll go here, and then I'll point to my crotch and everyone goes, yay. Where it's kind of like, it's comedy, it's funny, but it's not like, haha, got your nose. Like it's
adult. It's adult humor to a certain extent.
Yeah, or like just, you know, guys going to wrist lock you, roll forward, back forward, back forward. I go, fucking flippy shit, and then I stand and I poke the dude in the eye, and everyone goes, yay. Where it's kind of like, it's funny, but it's not like
cheesy.
It's funny. Yeah, it's not cheesy. Like some of the videos, I'll definitely admit, like I've looked at some of my videos and gone, fuck, that is the worst thing I've ever done. And then I've had people go, fuck, that was the best thing you've ever done. But I know they're crap. Like I find them funny, and I know some people find them funny, but even I know they're fucking crap, some of them.
No, you should you should get a YouTube channel and upload.
Do you think it get views though?
I don't know, man. It's worth doing.
I mean, you never know. Like I have uploaded stuff, like montage videos and stuff that I've done to YouTube, and a lot of them have been taken down because they've got like music copyright. But
Yeah,
Um,
you
yeah,
got to be careful with that. But
of course, yeah. Oh, like I've had so many like, what is it on the Facebook videos? Like if you got music on it, and they'll be like, "Oh, music copyright," and then you just select, "I own this music. I own the rights to this," and they go, "Okay, no worries," and you never hear about it again. I don't know if it's different now, but I know it used to be you go, "I am allowed to use this music." Press, I'm like, "Okay, no worries, we trust you."
you know
And it's
what?
just,
Like when I stream live my show,
mm,
like my entrance music, which I have approval
mm.
from the artist to use this music, and like I get strikes on Facebook, but like YouTube, no problem.
Just the,
Like it is what it is.
it's the wild wild west of YouTube. Sometimes it can really strike or it can not strike at all.
Oh, Facebook, man, they're fucked. But it is what it is. But you know what? It is that time of the show for 60 seconds with Piers. How this is gonna work. I've got a bunch of questions I'm going to throw at the Lee fucking Morrow, and he's got 60 seconds to answer as many questions as he can. Lee, are you ready for me to start the clock?
I am ready.
Okay. Favorite song to sing at karaoke?
Don't Stop Moving by S Club 7.
Which wrestler would you love to go out drinking with?
Of course, it'd be the Hulkster brother, Hulk Hogan.
Early bird or night owl?
I would say working in a gym used to be early bird, but I'm definitely a night owl. I can't get up in the morning, to be honest.
Yeah. Would you rather own your own boat or plane?
I own my own planes, so I can fly wherever I want to.
What did you get in trouble most as a child?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. I think I was pretty good. I mean, my mum did break a wooden spoon over my bottom when I was a child. I don't know what I was for though, but I think I was an angel.
Would you rather win $10 million or live for twice as long?
I think rather $10 million.
Name a gross meal combo that you like that no one else does.
What I used to really like, I don't know if I would like it now. What I used to really like in high school was peanut butter and sultana sandwiches. Look, I got no idea. The combination was nice. The sultanas would fall out all over the place, but I don't know. Instead of eating, it's either that or like ham and garlic aioli. I don't know. That's not really that weird though.
No, that's not too weird. All right, last one. In 5 minutes, you are being shipped to outer space. What two personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
We'll go. Jesus, we'll go. I don't know. We'll go a video game console and a lifetime supply of Shooting the Shit Uncensored with Piers Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a round of applause for that one. That has been 60 seconds with Piers. Bro, that you lost me at peanut butter and sultana sandwiches.
It's been a very long time, though.
Oh, man. But Lee, look, man, like this has been an amazing conversation. I'm just like looking at the clock, and it's been like an hour and 30 that we've just been talking. I definitely think we need to get you back on for a part 2 at some stage. But
yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
Dan, it would be great to get you back on. But where can everyone find you on social media? Where can they get some Lee Morrow merch and support you there on that front as well?
So on Instagram, it's the Australian Hero. There's no underscores or dots or anything on there. On Facebook, it's the Lee Morrow, the Australian Hero. That's the Facebook page. I don't have Twitter, just because I can't be bothered. You can have a look on what's it called? Wrestlermerch.com if you want to have a look at my shirts. I do sell some of them at shows as well. I don't have a lot of merchandise stuff, more so because I'm trying to save money for America. But yeah, just catch me at a local show, ask for a photo. Yeah, I won't slap you, I promise.
There you go. Again, Lee, thank you very much for your time. Everyone, thank you very much for tuning in for this episode. Please, like I said, make sure you like, share, subscribe wherever you're finding us. I appreciate it. On YouTube, tap that little red button and tap in. Give us a 5-star review on all your podcast platforms. I appreciate you all. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. Take care. All the best. Peace.